Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. Welcome to Legislative Administration. Time is 5:01. Can't see from this angle. Don't know why they couldn't put it on the back wall. At any rate, we're here to handle our final Legislative Administration retained bill. And that is 314 FN, prohibiting the use of federal, state, and or local funds for lobbying activities. This is listed as an exec session, right? Not a work session?
Correct.
Correct. Which means that I think what I'll do in order to get into the discussion part of this as quickly as we can, if we have a motion for ought to pass from Representative Turcott and a second from Representative Sheehan, then we can move into discussion of, and the bill is open for amendment at this point. I can recognize Representative Turcott for
Motion.
introduction of a
Motion
amendment.
for we have to do the OTP first, correct? On
Well,
the bill.
it is OTP
So-
of this, and now the bill is open for further
Oh,
amendment.
we already did the OTP.
Yep.
Okay, very good. Then motion to amend 314, HB 314 with 2025 3026H.
Everyone should have a copy in front of them of amendment to House Bill 314 2025-3026H. Everyone have that in the audience as well as here? Yep. Representative Turcott, would you like to speak to your amendment? This is a replace all amendment, correct?
That's correct. Did we have a second on that? I didn't hear a second.
I'm sure we can get one.
Okay.
Representative Sheehan would second it gladly.
Thank you. Okay, so yes, what you have in front of you is a complete replacement of the original HB 314. My goal here was an attempt to find a middle ground, something that everybody on both sides could work with. A couple of the prime motives were transparency over everything. That's my main motive, and I'll speak a little bit more to that at the end of it. The other thing that I wanted to bring into this was the issue of local determination or local control of the issue. So I think I'll actually start from page 1, number 19, and that goes through page 2.
Before you get there,
Yes, sir.
can I think I'd like to highlight the fact that line 3, right in the middle of the page is RSA 15:5. Everything that we're talking about in the original bill, but also this amendment, is geared around section 15, whether it's 15.1 or 15.5, and everything in between, really. But which deals strictly with lobbyists.
It's correct. It's absolutely correct.
It does not deal with anyone who does not need to register as a lobbyist, as in section 15:1. And that includes employees of, well, actually, we can go right to 15:1, I think, including employees of municipalities, whether they be the police chief or the fire chief or the highway department employee that drives the sanding truck. They are not required to register as lobbyists. Therefore, none of this applies to them. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct. On line 16, item number 4 there, it specifically lays out that with some actually improved language. Nothing in the section shall restrict public officials or public employees from testifying before legislature unless the individual testifying is required to register as a lobbyist. So that's absolutely correct.
And I bring that up because from the several times when this legislation has been before this committee, there has been a preponderance of bad information. And the letters that I received still point out that from somewhere, bad information continually gets into this conversation. Almost every single letter, but especially the form letters that are created from the lobbying firms. This has got to stop. We've tried continuously to come up with language that is can easily be read by any town administrator or any superintendent. But the information that seems to be coming back from the lobbying firms as advice or descriptions of the rules and laws that we're trying to create are just wrong in a lot of ways. And I'll give you a quick example. I just received a letter from a town administrator the other day saying, I'm not sure why lobbying firms need to segregate funds. They don't. Yeah, that was the same puzzle look that you just had, Representative Wall. That is what I'm looking at. So hopefully the amendment, and I think it was me that asked you to put that piece in from 15.1 into this amendment that speaks to the fact that this does not apply to anyone other than lobbyists.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Okay, so actually, I'm going to start at the top. Well, we'll just start there. The first thing we do is we change on line 5. We have a new definition, which is public funds, and that you can read it. I don't need to read that out to you, but it basically takes receiving grants or appropriations from the state down. The second part of that talks about you can't use any of that public funds for the purpose of lobbying unless you look at paragraph 5. That to me is the meat of this bill. I mean, there's lots of good pieces to it, but the meat of it is paragraph 5. The chairman talked about the segregation issue. That's section 3. Section 4, the chairman also just talked about, and that is public employees. There are no restrictions on public officials or public employees from testifying unless they're required to register as a lobbyist. So the important part, again, I think, is the transparency and the local decision making on this. And if you look at 5, paragraph 5, with the exception of page 2, which I'll talk about, page 2, section H of that, and I forget exactly where I pulled it from, but basically what that says is if a town or a municipality wants to engage in the activities that are prohibited in section 15.5, you can do so once you bring that to the taxpayers and the citizens of your town. That's all it is. We do that in many, many places in our RSAs. And again, it's a little bit of a transparency issue. And I say that because if you go down to H, I've added one section on that which talks about the municipality who decides to go through the purpose and use public funds for the purposes of lobbying, they're going to actually have to put that in their annual report and delineate that for the citizens. Now, the whole reason for the transparency, I'm going to give you a great example, and then I'll ask some questions. In my town of Barrington, I went to my town administrator and I said, how much money do we spend on lobbying activities? And being the sharp individual he is, probably one of the sharpest guys I know, he goes, oh, I can show you exactly how much that is. And he goes, it's on line X of the budget, this and this and this and this and this. I go, okay. And he says it's 10,000 some odd dollars. I go, okay, that's pretty much the population. And as we learned from somebody who testified before this committee, we have about 1.3 million people in the state, and the budget of NHMA is about 1.3 million. So the way they get their dues is $1 per person. So that made sense when my administrator said that. What got me though was I said, how many members of our select board know that figure? I didn't know that figure. How many of our citizens know that figure? And I said, here's the issue I have with that. I don't care if our town wants to pay that money. That should be the vote of the town. But I said, we have warrant articles that come across every March. $3,000 warrant article for this, $5,000 warrant article for this, $10,000 for this, and on, all kinds of different amounts. It's a major, for my town, 10,000, whatever the dollar value is a major amount. Some of you in this room are in big towns or cities. You can imagine what that figure is. That needs to be, in my opinion, made more publicly available to the taxpayers and the citizens, which is why Section 5 was put in as a way to kind of mitigate and illuminate what I think the transparency should be on the issue. The last change is with 31.8A. That's on page 2, line 17. And this applies just because it's specifically to the New Hampshire Municipal Association. It doesn't eliminate their public funding. It just says after the municipality has satisfied the requirements of 15.5 Roman numeral 5 regarding the use of public funds, it stays just the way it is. So basically, all we're doing is we're making that in agreement with Roman numeral 5 of what I just spoke at length about. So I think that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And you said you had questions?
Oh, no, no, I was gonna throw it out to some of the individuals on our committee, but I kind of already let the cat out of the bag and ask, how much does your town pay for public lobbying? And I don't think.
I will answer. I have no idea.
And that's kind of the point of the transparency. Most people don't know. And again, I'm not opposed to it as long as the citizens and the taxpayers, just like as some of you in the back of the room will know, I've been very adamant in other issues on local control or local decision-making, particularly zoning. And I see this as kind of a similar issue.
Thank you. Questions? Here we go to the fun part. Representative Payer.
Hi, thank you. Does this, I can't read, when I read through the amendment, I don't see how, it's very specific for NHMA, but what about the other associations that counties and schools use? How are those affected?
That will depend, you'll notice on section Roman numeral 5, where it talks about the question being put on the ballot. Shall we use public funds to be used for lobbying, attempt to influence legislation, and blah, blah, blah. You'll notice it says shall be substantially as follows. So that gives the municipality the ability to change or not change, make the wording. Yeah.
Which line exactly are you referring to?
Line 30, page 1.
The other thing that I will say, I'm not sure if you've taken a look at the RSAs that are listed here. There is a whole separate section in statute for NHMA as opposed to all of the other lobbying firms, New Hampshire School Boards Association, school administrators. There is a separate section just for NHMA. And that's why I think the author has tried to make sure the language of the first half of this coincides with the language for the NHMA section in statute.
What's the current NHMA statute section?
Right on here, isn't it?
Right on page 2, line 17.
Three,
The bold language is the new, the unbolded is existing.
yeah, 31:8A.
Yeah, no, I see, but how, but still, where is the language that allows schools and what budgets and whatnot and county budgets to take part in this process? Or are they exempt from this
No,
amendment?
Representative Turcott.
It's my intent and the belief the language is all encompassing.
But the language is so specific, it's only itemizing NHMA. So what about all the other
That's no.
associations?
15-5 talks to lobbyists in general, the RSA 15.5. And then because NHMA has its own section, as Chairman Hill pointed out, RSA 31.8A, in order to make that in agreement with the rest of the language, I added that bolded statement.
Oh,
How you can do that on a phone, I don't have any, I can no more read the RSAs on a phone, and, yeah. Life has passed me by.
yeah, I get it.
Further questions? Representative Sorensen.
Thank you. So this would be an opt-in, not an opt-out for the citizens, correct?
Exactly.
Thank you.
Further questions? Representative Wall?
I really appreciate the fact that you have put such effort into improving this bill. But I am still concerned also about the schools and the counties. And I wish that were, if you really mean that it were put into this, because it can be interpreted otherwise, as you've seen. So I'm just wondering if you might be willing to do that. Because otherwise it almost appears as if they're being excluded, even though your intent is to have them part of.
Sure. And I think the reason why we have recorded public hearings is to get that intent on the record. I've already said that 15-5, in my opinion, and the intent is it does cover everything, you know? And the reason we had to also alter 31.8A is because that's a specific something outside of 15-5.
Okay, follow up, Mr. Chairman?
Absolutely, Representative Wall.
Thank you very much, Representative Turcott, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our school budget hearing is at a different day, different time from our municipal budget. And even though you say a public hearing, again, the difference between the two, I'm looking for specifics because, again, I worry about interpretations.
Representative Burville.
Yeah, I'll take a bite at the apple. So my area of expertise is mostly around SB2 communities. I'm from Deerfield, and the other towns in my district are all SB2 towns. The school district and the municipality are two distinct legal entities, and one has no power over the other, excepting that the municipality collects the tax revenue and distributes it to the district. Other than that, they are legally distinct. And so the process would be the same for the school district as it would be for the municipality. We choose to hold our elections on the same day, right? We get a municipal ballot and we get a school district ballot, although our deliberative sessions are at different times and different locations because of they like that sense of separation, as well as to not make the day too long. I think the language here is fairly clear that if a school district or a municipality or a city, the language is pretty clear as to how one would move through that. So the question is the group that you're looking to be a member of, are they providing lobby services? And if they're providing lobbying services, then the mechanism to continue doing that would be spelled out as the amendment does. I'm failing to see the disconnect or the confusion. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yep, Representative Richards.
I have a question, thank you, for Representative Turcott. In the 2 weeks of you working during your working session to bring this to the entirely new amendment to us, did you put this in front of any school board, any district, anything? So in your review at all, that they read it?
I did not.
I will answer as well. That was not partially, totally my decision. And the reason is we needed to make sure that the amendment was substantially different than the bill that was indefinitely postponed on the floor last May, April, May. Yeah, I don't remember the number. But so up until I think Monday was when we had the ruling that this amendment is substantially different than that. So in an effort to not try to get it out in a position where it would only cause confusion when we weren't going to bring it if it didn't qualify. So that's my
Heard on.
effort.
May I do a follow-up?
Sure.
So in that, we do not know if your intent is actually clear for anyone from operating within a school district. Would that be a correct assumption? Because it wasn't in front of anyone.
So my answer, and I'll give Representative
Or do we never
Turcott,
wanna
my
see-
answer is there's no definitive proof that anyone understands it, but that happens frequently. And so my understanding, my feeling is this reads clearly. So I have no problem with that coming to the floor. I also know that this is the process where, we'll have conversations, I'm sure. I've had probably 5 or 6 conversations with other town administrators or one chairman of a school board, myself. So nothing official. We haven't had a public hearing on this, but it will go through a public hearing process from the House to the Senate. So I have no problem thinking that, there'll be iron out any vetting that needs to be done. I'm sorry, I saw Representative Sorensen first, so.
Thank you. What about school districts that have like more than one town?
Cooperative
Yeah.
districts.
How does that work if one town votes yes and one votes no?
Do you want to go?
I'll let you probably know a lot more about that.
So I belong to a cooperative district, and it really wouldn't work any differently than any other situation. They too provide an annual report. They would use that same annual report and document what their fees would be, and it would operate just the same. Yep. Excuse me, just to carry on one final thought. Just because you're in a cooperative district doesn't mean that you're all paying the exact same amount. So the number would be showing the aggregate costs for the lobbying services that they provide or that they procure, but it may be shared differently.
But if like one town said we don't want to do this and the other town does want to do it,
Oh, well, that happens all the time within there. Majority vote.
And if there's a tie?
Um, I don't know that in any time period I've ever seen a tie vote, but I also know that they're built into the contracts, the documents that for all cooperative districts, how to handle things like that. Yep.
I just want to reiterate one more time, there's a lot of talk about intent. The public hearing here, I'm stating that the intent of what is written is that it applies to everybody. I mean, this becomes a legal record. So if there's any question in the future about, well, what was the intent? They come back here and they'll pull up our little discussion here and they're going to say, yeah, the intent was for it to apply to everybody.
I was also remiss, I didn't introduce our substitute for today is Representative Peternell, who's here for Representative Nodder. So thank you for taking it may have been just for the donuts, I'm not sure, but.
It
I
was
appreciate-
solely for the
Yeah,
donuts.
I appreciate you being here. You had a question?
I do. I have a comment and a question, if I may. So, one comment about the cooperative school districts. I would imagine in the case of a tie, they might even call for a recount. I know our district recently had a very close vote on our operating budget, and they did do a recount, and it came out pretty much just as close. So, it didn't change anything. I don't know how they would decide it, actually, to be honest with you, in the event of a tie. But I also have a follow up question for Representative Wall's question. Are there any other statutes that include specific organizations like the NHMA is expressly pointed out in RSA 31.8? So I think that's the question that we were getting at there.
31.8 speaks only to NHMA, and there aren't any other organizations that I'm aware of that have their own separate section within the statutes. I haven't run into it. Maybe there are?
There's one that follows the NHMA statute that applies to everyone else. So counties don't do ballots or town articles.
What is the following statute?
It's right, it's probably 38B.
Okay,
Right after it.
thank you. Representative Verville.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So it's my understanding that the New Hampshire Municipal Association was actually enabled by the general court, right? It was enabled, it was created by law, which sets it apart from most of the other organizations. That's not really what I wanted to mention, but I believe that that's factually correct. And I'm certainly not an expert parliamentarian, but I'm not aware of any parliamentary system currently in use in New Hampshire, either at the state or local level, where a tie on any vote results in anything other than the defeat of the question. So if the question is yes or no, if the motion is yes, shall we do this, and it's a tie vote, then the answer would be no. You need an affirmative to pass something. So if you don't get the majority, it fails, and if it's a tie, typically the result of that is to fail. So I'm on the budget committee. We had 10 of 11 members last night. We took a vote and it was 5-5. So the motion failed. That's the most common outcome. Thank you, Mr.
Representative Wall.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you all for answering questions. Mr. Chairman, you said that this is substantially different from the bill that came before us, and it certainly is, and it's better than the original bill, that's for sure. But I'm concerned about not having a public hearing on this because it is so different. I mean, it's gone into tremendous detail for transparency and inclusion, and I'm more comfortable when something has a public hearing. And the thing is, the effective date isn't until January 1, 2027. So I'm thinking, what is the urgency in getting this through right now?
Thank you for your question. So we're dealing with a retained bill that we have. The the bill will go to the floor, assuming we pass this. And then it will have that hearing presumably in the Senate once it goes through. So that's the process for retained bills. It is possible, I suppose, I'm not sure at this late date whether we could even amend a different bill in a different way. I mean, there are ways that we can handle this, but because this was a retained bill, and this was the amendment that came forth, that would be the process.
Sure, I understand that. I'm just thinking though, where it is so different, couldn't we have voted, recommended for further legislation rather than vote on it right now for something that won't go into effect for more than another year? I mean, that would allow for a public hearing, so we could really hear from people if they think this is problematic or not.
So the motion on the floor currently
Yeah.
is the motion that we have. So we would have to vote
Vote
that
on that,
down in
yeah.
order to put in for
Okay,
interim
thank
study.
you.
Thank you. Representative Payer.
Thank you. So can you, I'm still stuck on this county issue, since counties don't, there's no ballots for voters for the county's budget and whatnot. So how is this going to affect that process?
Representative Turk?
I'm assuming you're bringing up the point that Ms. Horgan brought up. Is that correct? Yeah. Yeah, prior to our meeting today, she mentioned something about unincorporated places. Is that what you're referring to? No?
No, I'm just talking about any of the counties, Merrimack County, Hillsborough County. How are they, there's like the New Hampshire Tax Association, there's New Hampshire County Association, like those, how is this going to affect those folks?
So before we get there, I've been kind of lax here. We're in an exec session, so it would be good if we don't do just the back and forth, but things come back through the chair. Would be good. Okay? Your answer, sorry.
What was the question again, please?
I knew I timed it wrong. It's in relation to how would the county report any of the,
Approval, how would they approve you going a dues payment in their procedures with this bill?
so my understanding or my answer to that would be, we are all, in addition to being state reps, we're also county reps, right? And so we would get, and we vote on the county budget, we would get that in our materials that we get from the county administrator when we go in and vote on their budgets. That's where it would show in that area is my understanding, my belief. Yep, follow up.
Thank you. Follow up. So we would actually, it wouldn't just be a line item that is visible, which is is fine, but it would have to be a vote every time you did your budget for your county. You'd have to vote to pay dues memberships to these associations.
I don't believe that's the intent. I think the intent is it's a one-time
Unless there
issue,
is
unless it's reversed.
Okay.
Again, section 5, I forget what other RSA I pulled it out of, but it's the exact process that's used over and over and over throughout our RSAs for specifically in the municipal and county government type situations.
Representative Sorensen.
Thank you. So I don't know tons about how this works, but if your town decides to opt out and then 5 years go by, are they allowed to try to opt back in?
Absolutely.
Okay. How frequently? Sorry, follow up.
Follow up, thank
How
you.
frequently can you reapply? I don't know. Thanks.
I would say at the annual town meeting.
Mr. Chairman?
I'm not an expert on that. Representative Verville's probably a little better on that. But
Mr. Chairman?
Representative Oracle?
Thank you. Yeah, so the beauty of this is it's enabling disabling. And I'd have to go hunting, but if you look about where you enable, it's also clear that that's where you can disable. So at a minimum for a town like a traditional town meeting or SB2, it would be at minimum annual. There are certain things where you can put a question on the ballot to hold a special meeting for reconsideration if something fails, right? So a lot of times, if you have an employee contract, negotiated contract, that's on the ballot, the next question is if the previous question fails, can the district hold one special meeting for the sole purpose of reconsidering, and it allows them to regroup? So that would actually shorten this, if that would be allowed, and I'm not 100% sure, then you'd actually be able to get 2 bites of the apple in 1 year. But the way it reads, without that is each year can be put back on the ballot afresh.
I would point to page 2, line 3. If the question is not approved, the question may later be voted on upon according to provisions of paragraph 1 at the next annual town meeting or regular municipal. And then if you go on to F, a municipality that has voted to allow the public funding of lobbying activities may consider rescinding its action in the manner described in paragraph 1. Representative Turcotte.
Thank you. I'd like to make one comment regarding Representative Wall's question about this not having a public hearing. There are many times in this past session, great examples where very large issues are tossed into things like HB2 that never have a public hearing, and we're expected to vote on things like HB2 without any kind of a public hearing. As far as this, Representative Hill mentioned it, but we're having a hearing here. This is all public. If this passes and goes to the House and it passes the House, then it will go to the Senate and it will have a full public hearing. So,
Representative Paterno.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to clarify, this amendment was declared germane, correct?
Correct.
So in that case, the underlying bill already had a public hearing, if I'm not mistaken. So therefore, we wouldn't need to have a hearing on a germane amendment.
Correct.
Thank you.
I will just point out that we often get, even a floor amendment that comes that substantially changes or and that occurs without a public hearing. Yep, Representative Wall.
Thank you. Yes, you all are correct to some extent. But when we have such as HB2, there have been issues that have been out there and people have been talking about them for a very, very long time. Nothing has substantially changed. And I want to be able to answer to my constituents saying, yeah, the amendment sounds better than the main bill, but we never had a public hearing on it. And I have to answer to my constituents on that. And we all are responsible for that. And I'm just concerned that with something that comes in like this that hasn't been before the House for a long, long time, that we might be jumping the gun on this. And I don't see a problem with waiting and bringing this back another time. Just a thought.
Yep, thank you very much. Further discussion, comments? Seeing none, I will ask the clerk to call the roll. We have a motion on the floor of ought to pass on the amendment. On amendment, now I need my glasses again. Ought to pass on 2025-3026H. When the clerk is ready.
Vice Chair Sheehan,
Yes.
Representative Turcotte,
yes.
Representative Verville,
Yes.
Representative Paterno,
Yes.
Representative Boyd,
Yes.
Clerk votes yes. Representative Wall, Representative Richards,
No.
Representative Pyre,
No.
Representative Sorensen,
No.
and the Chair.
Chair votes yes.
7 yea, 4 nay.
The amendment passes 3026H passes. We now are at ought to pass as amended on House Bill 314 FN. Are there further discussion?
So moved. Make that motion.
Moved and seconded by Representative Sheehan. Representative Wall, you had a question
Yeah,
or
I'm
discussion?
simply gonna say, regardless of whether it's good or not so good, it's not ready for prime time.
Okay. Further comments, question? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call a roll on, we're voting on ought to pass as amended on House Bill 314.
Vice Chair Sheehan.
Yes.
Representative Turcott.
Yes.
Representative Verville.
Yes.
Representative Paterno.
Yes.
Representative Boyd.
Yes.
Clerk votes yes. Representative Wall.
No.
Representative Richards.
No.
Representative Pyre.
No.
Representative Sorensen.
No.
And the chair.
Chair votes yes.
7 yea, 4 nay.
Vote being 7-4, the as amended passes. I'm assuming there'll be a minority report. And who will do that? Representative Payer. Today is Wednesday. Can we have that? We need it. Well, we can't get it in the calendar for today, can we? So,
Nothing will go in the calendar until like December.
well,
If we just get it done.
but you don't have December. Sure. Can you get it to me for Monday? Would that be all right? If you have any problems with it, let me know. Or if you want to discuss it over the weekend, let me know. I will get it then to, by the way, we have a new committee assistant that conveniently, her name is Karen as well. So I think they did that specifically for me. So I had already committed Karen to memory. So now I have the same Karen. So Monday, and then as we just heard, these will all go to the floor in January. January 7th, I think, is the date. We heard yesterday that we are now in the 1,400 range of bills, new bills.
We thought there'd be fewer.
Yeah, we were hoping and begging that there would be fewer. We're at 1,400, and that doesn't include any of the retained bills that are also coming back in. So it's going to be. Pardon me? You know, I haven't seen any portraits on our. At this point, all we have are the titles, right? I mean, I've kind of scanned through. I haven't seen any new portraits. I'm a little disappointed that I haven't got one. I know Representative Wall is upset that she doesn't have a portrait coming. So, but one interesting thing that you will see in your inbox, I'm still amazed by this, but I asked our very fine researcher for information that Representative Wall gave us on portraits the first time that Representative Cushing requested this committee to act on a portrait bill.
Yeah.
So I asked her to look up and see if there was any questions about why a bill would come to this committee instead of just going directly to historical committee. I think it was 30 seconds later, I got a conversation. Sorry about that. I got a conversation back from our researcher to point out exactly on point that they were saying. I think it was Senator Barnes that had asked, why are you bringing it here? And if you bring it here, can the portrait not just be requested of the historical committee? And Representative Cushing pretty much, if I can paraphrase, pretty much said, yeah, you can. There's not, we just thought it would be more effective or if we get a bill passed with that. on
That
it.
started an interesting trend, a problematic trend.
Yeah, problematic.
And just because you can doesn't mean you should.
But we now, I will send you that piece of information from, just so you know. And the fact that we have already handled our retained bills on portraits in a different way, we're ahead of our time, I guess, I don't know. But it is, it's kind of interesting. It just adds to our knowledge base for portraits. But I haven't seen them. If anyone else has, I'm happy to entertain the thoughts of new portraits coming. Other than that, the only other thing I know is we'll be meeting for Veto Day in the first part of December. Yeah, I was going to say there's a 7 in there. So the 17th, and there may be information coming about parking, what we're going to be doing for
Oh, I
parking
sure
on that
hope
day.
so. Yeah, because I talked with, oh, may I?
Absolutely.
Thank you. I talked to Terry Paff just last Wednesday or Thursday, and he said, well, you can find parking around town. So I was emphatic about the fact that we can't find parking around town. So I hope something is done. He said he's working on it.
Representative Payer.
Thank you. Is the other garage not being used?
Stores.
Yeah.
Stores is, but it doesn't hold everyone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh.
living in Concord,
Yeah.
yeah, you would park at my house.
We're all going to park at
I see you the day
Representative
before.
Richards' house and get bussed
I
over
can give you, well, when we turn off, I'll give you
a location. Anything else? Any other secret that we don't want to have put out on YouTube? No? Great. Thank you very much. We will see you soon.